So many of us rely on common medications, right? They're incredibly powerful tools for our health. But sometimes the very medicines that are there to help us can have powerful side effects that are kind of hiding in plain sight. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most common and most overlooked muscle weakness caused by steroids. I mean, think about it for a second. Have you, or maybe someone you know, ever been given a prescription for a steroid like prednisone? They're used all the time for things like allergies, asthma, you name it. They're super effective. But while they're working to reduce inflammation, they might be doing something else, something not so helpful to your muscles. So let's just start with a number that might really surprise you, up to 50%. Yeah, you heard that right. Up to half of all patients who are on long-term steroid therapy end up developing some form of muscle weakness. And this is a big deal because it's so often overlooked, but it can have a huge impact on someone's quality of life. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to break down exactly what this condition is, how it happens, and this is the important part, what the science actually says about how you can fight back and get your strength back. All right, let's dive into section 1, a common drug's hidden side. Okay, so these drugs we're talking about, glucocorticoids, they're like the heavy hitters of medicine. But they come with this consequence for our muscles that a lot of people just don't see. So the official name for this is glucocorticoid-induced myopathy, or, GIM for short. And what's really wild is that research shows it's the single most common type of muscle problem caused by a drug. The key words to remember here are proximal muscle weakness, which basically means it hits the muscles closer to your core, like your thighs and shoulders, and atrophy, which is just a fancy word for muscle wasting away. Now, this is so important. Look at these symptoms. It's so easy to just brush them off, right? Difficulty getting up from a chair, struggling with stairs, just feeling tired all the time. You might think, oh, I'm just tired from being sick, or I guess I'm just getting older. But no, these are classic signs of GIM, and it almost always hits the lower body the hardest. Okay, so we know what it is, but why does it happen? How can a medicine that's supposed to help you actually hurt your muscles? Well, it all comes down to a very delicate balance inside your body. Okay, here's a great way to think about it. Picture your muscles like a scale, or maybe a bank account. On one side of the scale, you've got protein synthesis. That's your body building muscle, making deposits into the bank. And on the other side, you've got protein degradation. This is your body breaking down muscle, making withdrawals. Normally, this is all perfectly balanced. But here's the problem. This is what steroids do. They come in and just slam one side of that scale down, hard. They hit the brakes on building muscle, and at the same time, they stomp on the gas for breaking muscle down. So what happens? You end up with a net loss. The muscle bank account starts draining, fast. And it gets even more specific than that. The science shows this whole process goes after a specific target, our type 2 or fast twitch muscle fibers. And those are the exact fibers you need for power and strength. Think about it. Pushing yourself up from a low chair, climbing a flight of stairs. That's all fast twitch fibers, which is exactly why those things become so tough to do. All right, section 3. Because these symptoms are so, kind of vague, figuring out if someone actually has GIM can be really tricky for doctors. It's not like they can just see it during a regular checkup. So the question is, how do they do it? How do they connect the dots and say, aha, this weakness is coming from your medication? Turns out they've got a whole bunch of tools they can use. And it's a pretty big toolkit, actually. It's got everything from pretty simple strength tests, like how fast can you walk, all the way to blood tests that look for markers of muscle breakdown. They can even use high-tech stuff like body composition scans to literally measure your muscle mass, or imaging like an MRI to see what the muscle tissue itself looks like. Let me give you a really simple example to make this concrete. The grip strength test. It sounds basic, but it's a super effective way to get a hard number on someone's muscle power. Basically, you sit down, bend your elbow, and you squeeze this thing called a dynamometer as hard as you possibly can. You do it a few times, and boom, the doctor has a real number to work with. A number that can track the problem, or even better, track your recovery. Okay, so we've talked about what it is, why it happens, and how doctors find it. But now we get to the most important part, the part you've been waiting for. What can we actually do about it? And believe me, this is where the story gets really, really hopeful. To see how, let's look at a real-life case study. This was a 44-year-old guy. After a kidney transplant, he was put on steroid treatment, and pretty soon he started having all those classic symptoms we've been talking about. couldn't walk easily, struggled with stairs, had a hard time just standing up from a chair. So, what did they do for him? What was the solution? It wasn't another prescription. It was a super structured exercise program. You can actually see the workout plan right here. It's a circuit, mixing things like lunges and squats, stuff that builds both strength and endurance. He did this 3 times a week. And here's the key. It was progressive. That means it got a little bit harder over time to keep challenging his muscles. And wow, did it work. The results really speak for themselves. Just look at this one metric, how far he could walk in 6 minutes. When he started, he could do 320 meters. But after just 8 weeks of this program, he was up to 400 meters. That is a 25% jump. I mean, that's not just a number on a chart. That is a life-changing improvement in his ability to just live his life. And the best part? This wasn't some fluke. It wasn't just a one-off result for this one guy. All the broader scientific research backs this up. It shows that this mix of endurance and resistance training is a seriously powerful way to fight the muscle-damaging effects of steroids, all without needing another drug. Exercise literally helps tip that muscle balance scale back where it belongs. Whew. Okay. We have covered a lot. So let's bring it all home and boil it down to the most important things you need to remember. Okay, takeaway number 1, this condition is really common, but because the symptoms are kind of vague, it often gets missed. So if you're on steroids long-term and you feel yourself getting weaker or having trouble with stairs, don't just blow it off. And number 2, and this is the hopeful part, there is a solution. Of course, you should talk to your doctor about maybe adjusting the medication, but now we know for a fact that structured, progressive exercise is a proven, powerful tool for fighting back and rebuilding the strength you've lost. And all of this really leaves us with one last big question to think about. We focus so much on all the amazing things our medicines can do for us, and rightly so. But doesn't this story make you wonder, shouldn't we be just as focused on understanding and managing their side effects? Being an active, knowledgeable partner in your own health journey, well, that might be the most powerful medicine of all.